Hello, my loves, and welcome to Along This Spiritual Journey. So, I began this new series because I wanted to just use my energy reading for everything that I've been experiencing for others to use maybe along their journey. And sometimes we forget as teachers, healers, entrepreneurs, influencers, all these things of leadership, we forget that along our path, we're picking up tools that are essential not just to our journey, but others alike who are a part of our tribe. And so, with this series of vlogs that I'm just going to come on and talk to you guys about what comes through. Sometimes it'll be channeling, sometimes it'll just be me speaking, me being Jawan, or Ja, which is the spirit soul who speaks to everyone. And so, if you don't know, as my previous EQ with Ja, I talked about, emotional intelligence and everything. And through that, I talked about how I myself am claircognizant, clairaudient, clairvoyant. So for me, what this means is I speak directly to spirits. I speak directly with spirits. It's not like me trying to talk to them on purpose or vice versa. It's literally just I hear other spirits' thoughts. Now, this is something that was new to me because I'm like, I don't understand what's happening until I started to interact with other people's energies and other people's spirits, and I'm talking to their spirit and I'm thinking what their spirit, I hear what their spirit's thinking, and I talk to the spirit, and their spirit's like, how can you hear what I'm thinking? Which then leads the body to feel like, who is this person? And so as a kid, that used to make me feel like I shouldn't talk about like my gifts, my spiritual gifts, because it's not easy to explain trying to be a human being going through the conditional stuff that we're given emotionally. So this is what the whole series EQ was about, because I wanted people to first, you have to be able to identify the physical flesh's own identity first. So like if I'm reacting like because me, Jawan, as a kid is used to getting what I want, and because I don't get what I want, I learn to cry and my parents coddle me. Well, as an adult, I'm going to expect other people to do the same thing when I show signs of being upset. And if they don't, then that's where it escalates to a personality type attached to temperament and behavior, which is what we don't want to do. We don't want to walk around being emotional triggers because someone holds some blueprint to our design that we don't realize was crafted for us. And so once we work through all those emotions, every single physical being is a spirit reader, is an energy reader. Remember this. All these, when, I always hear people when I was growing up and stuff, I used to love watching Oprah, and she would bring on so many amazing guests who talked about like their spiritual gifts and trying to understand what it means in a society that's looking at them like, what? And they're trying to feel through it and they're trying to talk through it. And I could see them like, I understand. As a young kid, I understood right away, like, I don't see the flesh first. I see the soul first. And a lot of the times people don't realize that your soul speaks louder than you could ever try to hide. Like some people can hide it really well. Me, myself, I'm like, you can see my whole energy all over the place because my soul and my body integrated a long time ago. Like me, Jawan, I don't get embarrassed by anything because I grew up in a family who taught us like, I'm gonna embarrass you. And so you just learn how to not be embarrassed, because if the punishment is embarrassment and you don't get embarrassed by the punishment, I win, right? But this is what taught us all of that emotional part of being the flesh. That's where we feel like there's manipulation, but that's really just the free will of our understanding. With that being said, for me, I also identify very closely with the feminine energy. And because of that, my feminine energy feels things beyond this physical realm. Like I grew up with my mother, right next to her, right under her, feeling everything. Then on top of that, being gay. So then being induced into a culture where femininity is outwardly embraced, at least in gay culture at the time. I didn't feel like I ever had to hide. So aligned with that confidence and my understanding of energy and spirit and soul, I started to recognize that I was able to actually hear spirits. And what I mean by spirits, my guides are literally the definition of contrast. Black and white, dark and light, above, below, inside, outside. Every single thing of gradation from black to white, my energy reads. And because of that, I can see the energy timelines of other people's emotional, what I call imprints, blueprints, you know, data input, like, okay, well, today this happened. I can see all that because I can tell people, oh, this happened because you did this and then they did that. And I can just trace the pathology of where that energy is coming from. So this is a gift that we all have, because the first part of it is it's a bridge, okay? There's a bridge of energy, free-flowing, hypothetical guessing situations, trying to align it all. It's all truth. It's just not attached. That's why I always tell people, nothing's really a lie. It's just not attached to the truth yet. So some people attach this truth to their own lies. And this is where the funnel effect happens of, if you have a funnel that's been force-fed grease and buildup and stuff that doesn't mix well in pipes that are meant to be free-flowing, it builds a plaque. It doesn't matter if the message and the love and intent is beautiful. If it goes through plaqued and carotid pipes, it's going to pick up some of that debris. It's going to pick, and it's also going to slow down the momentum. And so when it comes through the other side to someone who's ready to receive, it's going to come out a little distorted because we're trying to say it in the way that we understand it. But if we're not connected to our body, which is the antenna, then we're not able to actually let spirit flow through us. Do you understand? So then this is why doing shadow work, which is, again, I see that I'm reacting to something that I shouldn't really be reacting to. But you know what? That's my personality, so I'm just going to say it and do it, so they just have to accept it. I mean, you can go that route. I used to be that. I'm still that. But I know why. Why take that route where I see, you know what? They can have this moment. And I can walk away. That is clearing shadow energy, because my old me would have popped off and it would have felt good momentarily, but then it would have been silly because I just created a whole energy cycle of karma, because now this person upset, they're going to go take that energy home somewhere else. If they're balanced or imbalanced, they're going to take it out on someone else, or they're going to fester it and create more negative energy towards you. Now you have all these timelines being created from one little moment of you being able to say, hey, I can clear this shadow moment. This is how it works. And spirit sees like, oh, wait, this vessel's cleaning itself. Listen, spirit energies love it when the vessel cleans itself. It's like a new car. If your car is always clean when you sit in it, it feels good. You know what I mean? If it's piling up and getting messy, you start feeling the heaviness. And then when someone gets in your car, you start making excuses for the messiness, when all you got to do is stop being lazy and clean out the car. You know what I mean? This is how energy work works. You have to put in the work. It's not easy, but you have to recognize that it's possible. This is the biggest thing, is possibilities. You have to know that it's not hard when you focus on why you're choosing to follow through on the action. Remember, people have a choice in any decision they make. Even if someone comes up to you and spits in your face, you can react. Let me tell you right now, if someone does that to me, I don't know what to tell you, because I use these hands, but only in situations that volatile. In other situations, it's like someone just talking crazy to me, I'm like, take this moment, have it, because it's not worth it to me. But if someone's disrespecting Jawan, the physical flesh that has incarnated my soul since its birth and has allowed me to help dictate their choices, that's beautiful, because me and Jawan used to fight. This is, you know, I go by Ja and Jawan. Ja is my feminine energy. Jawan is my masculine energy, because Jawan is the physical flesh that was incarnated into this world through our parents, twin flame energies. Contrast. Remember, a male and a female are twin flame because they're complete opposites in contrast. That's why I tell everyone, You don't really want the twin flame relationship unless you know how to work through your own parents' crap. Even the stuff they don't talk about in front of you, even if it seems like they have a wonderful marriage. You have to, in turn, work out all of the imbalance they created throughout their lives because you're chasing a relationship that looks like theirs, which is two opposites attracting. You don't know why, but you just see what you want to see on the outside. This is where people start to create distorted twin flame relationships, and you start getting the karmic twin flame. Remember, twin flames aren't bad unless you want what your parents have. I don't want what my parents have. So I had to let the idea go of the expectations that were created around what my mother taught me as a child were her expectations, and vice versa for the lack thereof of my father's, and all of the scenarios I had to make up around his absence just to feel like what a man is. So you understand how this affects kids and everything else in our lives into adulthood? This is why energy work is so important. And so when I learned to work through all of that and say, hey, twin flame, you guys are great. Not for me. I don't need to try to find myself in what you guys were trying to find in each other. Because my family, my parents divorced. So I was a child of divorce through them. So that was a broken timeline on both ends, which means I had to go out into the world and work through all of their energetic relationships just to get back to the point of saying, yeah, I still don't want what you guys have. I think it's beautiful what you did have because you created me, but I don't want what you had, and you need to go your separate ways energetically, because remember, this is how memories and things of our background stay with us, because we sit and dwell on them. Back in the day, and you know, he was a good man. That's okay to say, but when you start putting energy back into it, you're recreating a timeline which will manifest into this reality, because that's how energy works. Anyways, back to the spirit talk. Once you know how to clear your actual energy from your emotional world of what is imprinted on you, then you go into the darker energies of where you see where grandma and grandpa, when you have a sense of them, and the ancestors attached to how they live. You know, when we look at our grandparents, we can see how they live. We see our parents, we see what they did to us. We see our grandparents, we see how they lived and who they used to be. This is a living timeline. This is why it's great when you have generations who are in your life that you can look back to and be like, oh wow, they actually have a history of life that makes sense to who I am. This is how it works. This is why we say pay homage to your ancestors, because they are the ones who came before you, who gave you these looks and these ideas and this fire and this. So trust me, baby, a lot of this is, oh, hold on, I'm sitting on my feet. A lot of this is like innately in our DNA of like ancestors and everything who came before us. But don't forget, like, you still have your own blueprint to like who you are. You know what I mean? Like, you don't change being you because you come from an ancestor line. But what it does do is reveal your level of power and your gifts. And this is the most important part to all of this. You have to understand that each of your families represent an energetic tribe of magic in the energy world. And depending on your legacy of your family and how they work through their energy, this is how strong your power becomes in this reality. So for me, my family openly talks about talking to spirits. They openly talk about like being witches and openly talk about like the Holy Ghost. What do you think the Holy Ghost is? People are like, oh, that's just in the Christian. The Holy Ghost is that in the Black church, but maybe in the other parts of churches as well. But for me, when I was a child, I saw the energies come in and out of her. And it would take over and she would start speaking tongues. And I'm like, that's that language. This is this language. How does she know that language? And I don't even think she understood that she was speaking languages from other places. But I understood that as a small child because I was very inquisitive. So when I understood that I was seeing this, they would see me and they would go away. It would be so interesting because they were like, how do you see us? I didn't know that I was one of those kids who could see energies, not ghosts. I always tell people it's not ghosts that I see. I see energies, living, actual energies that have yet been incarnated on this earth, yet that are looking to be incarnated on this earth, that know how to infiltrate all of this. I can see it and I can talk to them. And some people, I try to tell them when I'm talking to people, I'm like, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to your soul. And they're like, well, I am me, and how do you talk to my soul without my permission? It's like, well, I always ask for consent. At least I try to. But for the most part, like I'm walking up to you and saying hi, sometimes people don't ask to say permission to say hi. You just say hi. The same thing is for the souls. It's not, you don't have a choice in it. If my soul can see your soul, my soul's like, hi, and your soul's like, hi. And sometimes other people's souls are like, you can see me, I can see you, because souls can see that a human can see you. So when other souls see me, they try to speak through me, and I can speak through their consciousness. And this is how sometimes when I talk to people, I'm like, so this is what you're thinking and feeling. And I'm like, no, you don't know what I'm thinking and feeling. I'm like, I understand it's a defense mechanism to feel that someone thinks they know this, but I'm telling you this. And then I'll walk away and they come back like, hey, I was actually thinking and feeling that. I just didn't realize. I was like, I'm not trying to implant stuff in your head. I can read it, and I do it confidently, which has turned up, guess what? My energy more to a level of, now I can see like the stories of the original energies. Like I can see them talking through the animations of whatever we were then. But I can see the energy where it's like Adam was and is the duality of, I believe it's yang, which is the white energy. And then Lilith is the yin, which is the original nurture energy. Because people forget, in the darkness, you got to do some stuff. You don't know what's happening underground. The underground is volatile, honey. Keep going. You'll see. It has to be to create all of the foundation and the crust of the minerals in a loving, destructive way. But that is Lilith, and that is Adam. And people forget that Adam belonged to Lilith, and Lilith belonged to Adam. And remember, I'm not talking anything religious. This is just energy that I'm reading. When they realize that they're in that circular motion of always together but never can touch, because remember the law of the law of duality and the law of polarity. I was going to say polarity first, but put them together. The law of polarity is that these two opposite ends, they work together, but they're really never attracted to each other because they can't be. They work together as a whole. This is why magnets are why they are what they are. Opposite ends. So yes, Adam is still, for those who are super into it, the religious aspect, but still just represents the energy of masculine energy. That's it. What is seen above, the heat, the intensity, the beauty. But it's lonely, because remember the little black dot inside of all that white light, that's Adam's heart. That belongs to the portal that goes to Lilith, which attaches to the dark energy, the dark sultry creation, motherly energy that people don't understand. Is that's all womb energy. And so with that, she has the little white. That's her creation, her space of love. That's why she loves her divine masculine, because they are, again, Ra and Horus, seeing, one can only see but can't see, and then Ra seeing all. And then they represent, again, the sun and the moon working to love on Mother Gaia. These energies, again, interpret back out into a bigger scope of how we can trace the pathology of where we emotionally began. It's not hard to see, because once that energy was created, let's just keep going there. Again, this is not biblical. This is just for energy resources. Once Adam was so lonely and realized, I can always feel her, but I can't be with her because our soul missions are different. You understand? They understood for the rest of our lives, our soul missions are different. We can have these portals and love each other in the energetic world, but physically we can never be together. This then created on the physical world where they're like, well, Adam got lonely and wanted to create a feminine in Lilith's liking, but made it look like him in his human form. Fine. Whatever that was, created a hole in Adam, which created a portal to make a distorted version of the masculine in Lilith. This is where we can say Satan was born, per se, or Lucifer, falling angel, whatever. Again, I'm not trying to be religious. This is all just for the energy sake. Lucifer, the show, is a great show. It explains it energetically just that way of, these are the worlds that happened and they didn't understand. Remember, God is a source of energy that says is we. That means God represents both masculine and feminine, which means God wanted to know who they were as separate wholes, separate halves to a whole, but still wholes. So when they did that, they created what we call the bifurcation process and split into two. They were a whole, all-knowing omega source, but then they split into two and created an alpha and a beta. And so when they created the alpha beta, well, guess what? They had to split off. And so the alpha beta and the beta alpha created their own subdivisions of that. And then you have this trickle down effect of energy that is, I'm the man that goes out and hunt. And I'm the man that studies and talks like this. And I'm the feminine who's just all dutiful. And I'm the feminine that's sultry and fun. All of these avatars, you and everyone understood all of those energies I just did. You can look at every fairy tale and movie we created and folklore. There's always the Gaston, the Prince, the Belle, and then the floozies or whatever you want to call them, the distorted feminine, which was the three blondes in Beauty and the Beast, because that's what's created in our understanding of ourselves, because we forget we were split from a higher source who only wanted to understand themselves in love. God doesn't need anyone. God doesn't have to. No, like, it's not a man nor a woman. God is both. So God energetically can make love to themselves, feed themselves, nourish themselves, be whole. That's what they say when you love the God in you and you love yourself unconditionally between your masculine and your feminine, knowingly, you don't need anything. You're good. And then when you know that, you start calling in that actual opposite energy of you, which then calls in your divine masculine or feminine, if you're into that. But I want people to understand it's not about that until you do all of the previous work before that led up to this. All of this matters in the energetic world because it keeps telling our story of what the universe and spirit wants to do with us. It wants to go back to itself. But in order to go back to itself, we all individually have to learn how to fall in love with ourselves. Remember that this is a beautiful, beautiful spaceship that works at some random will. I am moving my fingers, not deciding to. Something went through me beforehand and said, we're going to move the hands, and then the hands move with it. This is claymation in action, people. At any point in time, my brain, something could stop, and then a part of my body's not working. This is how you know you're not in charge of the flesh. But the flesh retains all of the memories because we're a computer chip. Every single thing that we are represents a computer chip. And then all we do is create products that reflect our understanding of our process in life. These cell phones, computer, all of this is just a visualization physically made for us to see our visions the way we see them in our head. That's what a cell phone does for us. That's what computers do for us. All of this is energy work. It's just now being manifested through forms of materialized matter that we say is matter because we can touch it. Because remember, there's matter all around us that we can't touch or see, but that's a whole nother video. Point being is you have to learn how to trust every single thing that happens to you is happening to you the way it needs to happen, but you also have the opportunity to adjust it or change it if you want, because it will still keep you on your path, but it will change the trajectory of how you get there. Remember, you have the choice if you go through the pipe all plaqued up or you go through the pipe that's been cleaned and taken care of and doing the work. This is how spirit works. Spirit wants to talk to you. Spirit wants to work through you. They love when your ancestors have a connection to you, because then they understand, I have a whole army of people I can work with to now work through this person. But if you're not attached to yourself, your ancestors, anything, I'm not saying your direct family that may have hurt you or something or anything like that. Anytime I speak, I will reference the 3D world as such, but I'm always speaking 4D and up. Always emotional and then up into the 5D, 6, because that's where we all actually live. These are just our little hibernation chambers, which again are beautiful, and they allow us to feel and see this world in a way that's great. But people forget most of the day, let's say you have a computer job, you're sitting at that computer doing your job, but your mind and energy is working all over the place. You understand? Your mind is focused on doing the task, but energetically, you might be listening to music, you might be thinking about your meals, you might be thinking, that's energy, honey, that's emotions. That's initially just your body talking to itself like, hey, take care of me, but also while you take care of me, these are the things that makes the soul feel good. Because the soul likes when you eat, the soul feels comforted in that. The soul gets the taste, that sensation of flavor, all of that. This is feminine and masculine. A bite is masculine. A taste is feminine. It all works together. You have to understand that when you bless every moment as such, thank you, masculine, thank you, feminine, thank you for this moment, then they energetically can say, oh my God, we do know how to work together. We do know how to serve a function, taking care of this flesh and guiding it to live survival mode, take it out because we're surviving, and these two work together to help us, which is again why understanding our parental upbringing. If your parents sucked, okay, let them be what they were, forgive the timelines for what they need to be, move on, and then reparent yourself. That's the only new answer. But dwelling in what they did to you will never help you. It's only going to perpetuate a timeline that should have been discarded a long time ago. But if you're ready to walk through that door, because it's really easy, once you know, just clear the pipes, you can go through into other side, much more space, newer energy, and then you understand, okay, I am at the age where I can reparent myself. At any point in time, you cannot make a decision as an adult, get in trouble, then punish for it, and then blame your parents. Well, it's because of how I was raised. No, I mean, part of it, but you make the choice. This is the same thing with understanding your energy work. This is the same thing with understanding your spirit work. This is the same thing with understanding your quantum creation work. Quantum creation is your imagination. Anything that comes through was blessed and bestowed upon you by spirit and source, okay? Anything that pops into your head, sure, you can try to give yourself credit as a human being, but that's egotistical. It's all about, no, me the flesh, if I come up with some idea, oh yeah, me, Joanne, just made this up. No, something came through my spirit and soul and said, hey, this would be beautiful because so many emotions love this feeling. If you create this thing, this will invoke this feeling in this many people and they will love it. And spirit loves when people are happy because spirit gets to feel all of their sensations working. Remember, we have eyes and taste and smell and all these things that taste and smell that we could see for a reason. If it's not for our own survival and hedonistic pleasure, it's clearly for something greater than us that likes to know what it means. I always tell people, if you're watching something that's beautiful and it's sentimental, no matter what it is, if it hits you and you start crying, that's that moment that was created because someone made the visual for you to feel what you're feeling, because that's a sensation felt by all. Understanding your emotions opens the gateway to the power of the world, which is why people are easily manipulated. And in this new world and new time, we do not have time for that. You have loving Mother Ja and loving Father Jawan, who are here to help you guide that way and path to your own autonomy and your own sovereignty if you choose so. Remember, sovereignty is a choice. You can go out there and live the world how you want to live it, or you can go on this path of just saying like, hey, I want to know who I am past my flesh. They're both important to this whole journey, because eventually that teacher or the student who becomes the teacher who goes, they have to come back and teach. And then there's some student who has to go out and become the teacher. This is the ever-flowing channel of spirit and how we work. All right, guys, so thank you again for following me on this new series along this spiritual journey. It will be a lot more hippie per se than my previous videos, but if you want to check out what EQ with Ja, just go ahead and scroll down. I've made a playlist for a whole season of that, 200 plus videos of me just talking to you. So this is, again, more spirit work, energy work. All my energy healers will understand where I'm coming from. Again, as always, guys, I love you. You can check out all my social media platforms, as well as my book, Reactivating Your Emotional Consciousness, The Rebirth. Check it out on Amazon. That is, I did it backwards, but it's The Rebirth, Reactivating Your Emotional Consciousness. But anywho, check me out. Everything will be down in the bio. I also have some extra book content and journals there to help track your progress as you do it. Again, this is all about reactivating our spirits and our gifts that are meant to be awakened. Remember, any emotion that don't belong to you, that's an awakened spirit from somebody else, and you don't want to take care of that. You want to take care of your own. So reawaken your spirit guide so that you can guide yourself into this beautiful spiritual journey that makes you happy with yourself. All right, as always, I love you guys. Besos, take care of yourselves.